no matter what, you guys are going to learn a ton. We got a lot of content to go through today, so I'm going to get this thing kick-started. We're talking about web apps. This is part 3 in a 3-part series. Today, I'm talking about Shiny, but in Python. So we'll talk more about that here in a minute. Just to give you guys a little bit of background, how I came up with the idea for this training. So July 25th of last year was the RStudio conference. This is me with a couple of my students. It was an amazing conference. I found out a ton of stuff. I found out that RStudio is being renamed Posit, which they've successfully transitioned into their new entity now. I saw a huge panel list of speakers, some of my favorites, Max Kuhn and Julia Silgay. They gave the keynote, and they even, this was amazing, they even mentioned me in the keynote. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of tough on the screen. But they also announced a ton of new features for Shiny at that. And that's where I got the genesis of this presentation today, because Shiny has had a very important part in my career, and I want to share that with you. All right. Today's session is all about some new features that came to Shiny, and I have a big promise for you guys all today. So I'm going to show you how to build a Shiny app in Python. You guys are all going to walk away with that today. And you'll leave with a complete plan for how to increase your salary by 15% or more by doing the things that I tell you to do. All right. So before we dive in today, I do have a free gift for everybody on the call. So as a reward for investing in me and this training, I have a gift that I want to give to you guys. It's the Python cheat sheet. I've recently updated this. I have a lot of new information in there. It's actually 2 pages now. So what it does is it consolidates the entire ecosystem of Python. So Python, I don't know if you guys know this, it has 100,000 or more packages in there, and there's tons of good stuff, but it can be very overwhelming. All right. So this gives you the 100 best. It saves you years of trying to figure out which ones to focus in on. And it breaks learning Python package down by steps, things like data import, transformations, data visualizations, machine learning. If you want to apply any of these steps to your work, then these are the packages that you need to know. I will give you guys all this at the end of the presentation though. So don't ask for it before, you guys will all get it at the end. All right. So key question for everybody on the call here. Why do you guys think that Shiny is important? Just let me know if you guys think that Shiny has a place in either the Python ecosystem, or why web apps or something like Shiny might be important. Okay. Visually attractive, easy to use, easy interaction. People love it. Great, friendly data visualizations. Okay. All right, cool. Well, I'm going to take a different spin, and I love your guys' comments because they really show the visual nature and some of the key aspects of that, which are certainly important. But I'm going to give you a different spin on it. Shiny is going to make you a better data scientist, because if you apply what I teach you correctly in this training, it can save your company millions of dollars. And it can also help you land a 6-figure data science job. Now, these are our Shiny jobs, but I imagine Python has jobs for the equivalent. So things like web frameworks. I know I did a ton of research for this thing, and I found out that Python has over 28 web frameworks. So there's definitely a lot of demand for web frameworks. But more specifically, I want to show you how Shiny actually helped me in my career. All right, because that's what it's about. This training isn't about me. It's about you guys, and I want to show you guys what it can do for you by showing you what it's done for me. All right. Step 1 in my career, how I applied Shiny: automation. What I did was I actually saved about 20 hours per week of routine tasks that I was constantly doing, getting burnt out from. And these were mundane tasks, things that I had to automate, or things that I had to do manually, like reports, and just every week your boss wants a report. So Shiny for me was an automation tool that saved me about 20 hours, and it actually led me to my first promotion. And it added another 15K into my pocket. I went from a 75K salary to about a 90K salary. That was my first promotion. Step 2, I repeated. I just looked for wins, and eventually I found a huge win. I ended up helping my previous company, save about $13 million per year. And this led to a promotion from 90K to 150K, and I got a director position. So this added another 60K into my pocket. All right. And then step 3 for me was actually consulting. And this is basically step 2, but repeated for different customers now, because on the side, what I ended up started doing was I started a consulting business, and Shiny was a huge win because companies would pay tons and tons of money for web apps. These are things that they can't build themselves, and I could do it very quickly. And I would turn these things around in a week or two. And what this did was in that first year, it added another 60K into my pocket. And then in year 2, I made a total of $350,000. Half of that was from work. I was making about 155K at work. And then the rest was from consulting and side gigs. Pretty powerful stuff, right? So I used to get paid to make these on the side. It was a lot of fun. It was very cool, but it was also really powerful for me and my family. It allowed us to do tons and tons of cool stuff, like go on trips, and to really be able to have this kind of life-changing financial freedom. So it added actually 150K into my pocket just with consulting. And that was in year 2 of consulting. So if you're keeping track of this, Shiny helped me go from in a short period of time from about 75K a year to all the way to about 350K a year. Okay. And that was with consulting and with automating stuff and really helping my company grow their revenue. Okay. Question though. Question. Who wants to be able to add Shiny projects to their interview portfolio? Because that's another key thing, key way that you can use this. If you're seeking a job, put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat. Okay. Are you a job seeker? Seeing lots of job seekers. They want to be able to add. Okay. So Shiny is one of the best ways to add something to your interview portfolio. In fact, this is super critical. I see a big mistake that a lot of data scientists are making. They're putting their code out there. Companies can steal your code. When you put a Shiny app out there, they cannot steal your Shiny app. And they see an example of what you can produce for them. And guess what? Who are they going to want to hire if they see something that they want? Well, they're going to hire the person that built it, you. All right, next thing. Who wants to get their data science projects put into production? So put a 2 in the chat if you're at work and you're having a tough time getting data science put into production. All right, this is another huge thing a huge mistake I see people making. We'll actually talk a lot about this at the end, but Shiny helps you do a ton more stuff with less infrastructure, with less people involved, and it helps you remove the handcuffs from your career. All right. Third thing, who's on here? Put a 3 in the chat if you want to get promoted to senior data scientist. Put a 3 in there. Okay. Because Shiny will help you get promotions. And the thing that separates a basic data scientist or your run-of-the-mill data scientist from the senior guys is the ability to use cloud infrastructure and to be able to produce things into production. Okay. And then put a 4 in the chat. Who wants to consult? Who wants to, we're in the gig economy, guys. So if you want to consult, there is no better way. I'm seeing tons of 4s. All right. You could get a side hustle just like I did. In that first year, I made about 60K. That's not bad. That's more than, just, money for, having fun on the weekends. That is life-changing money. And then in that second year, I did about 150K in consulting. So it can be a huge side hustle for you. So if you said yes to any of these questions, and I saw lots of 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s in the chat, I really appreciate you guys from showing up because you're going to get a lot out of this training. So Shiny is the shortcut to getting each of these 4 things. So today I want to show you how. I got 3 big announcements that we're going to recover or cover from the RStudio Conf. And I want to kind of show you what has happened. There was 3 things that happened in the Shiny ecosystem. First thing was Bootstrap 5 was introduced here recently, and Shiny has started to integrate it. The good news is they integrated it into the R package through the BSlib library, and I did a learning lab on that a couple of it was 2 learning labs ago. And what's cool is Shiny and Python, guess what, has Bootstrap 5 built in natively. That's amazing because everything used to be built on Bootstrap 3. I'll explain what that is in a minute here once we get into the demo. There's a second improvement though. There's a 100x improvement. And this was the announcement of the Shiny UI editor. I demoed it 2 labs ago. And this is an amazing feature because it allows a drag and drop user interface. Okay. So one of the key differences between R and Python is the R ecosystem in Shiny is really large. It's very mature. Shiny's been around for 10 years. So all of these extra packages like the Shiny UI editor have been built inside of the R ecosystem. So unfortunately, Python doesn't have that yet, but I can see it coming down the road. I'm sure they're going to have a drag and drop. Everyone sees Tableau and Power BI taking off. You can do very similar things, at least for the UI, the user interface with Shiny. All right. And this is an example of that drag and drop functionality that they announced at our studio conference. Third, and this is a 100 billion X improvement. Okay. Shiny for Python was announced. So this was at the keynote, or one of the other they had multiple keynotes at the RStudio conference. This was the CTO, Joe Chang. He's actually the creator of Shiny, and he's the chief technical officer at RStudio, or now Posit. And he announced that Shiny for Python was available. All right. So this is amazing. You can imagine. I was there. I was in shock. I'd always only thought of Shiny being available in R. I also know that in Python, there's a ton of other competition. In fact, 28 other web frameworks. So I want to show you why I use Shiny today. And I want you guys to see my development process. I want you guys to see what I found useful. And then I'll allow you guys to take away from this topic. And I want you guys to walk away with, at least, if nothing more, you guys get to see some of the benefits of using Shiny. I love Shiny. All right. So to recap, there was three big announcements: a 10x improvement with Bootstrap 5 now being integrated. The 100x is the Shiny UI editor, and then the 100 billion X improvement is Shiny for Python, because I love Shiny. It's now available in Python. So whether you're an R user or a Python user, or an R user that wants to go to Python, you got options now. So how cool is that? Let me know if that's cool. What do you guys think? You guys, let me know in the chat. Is that cool? All right. Good. I'm going to make this interactive. I want you guys to be on the ball today. So there is one problem, though, is that they failed to teach us how to use any of this stuff. Okay. So you can imagine, I saw all this amazing stuff at Posit Conf, and I walked away. I'm like, wow, this is really exciting. And then I'm like, I took a lot of good notes, but none of these notes actually taught me how to do anything. So there's a solution. That's where I come in. So I have good news for you. For each one of these labs that I've prepared, I put in probably 4 or 5 days worth of work. And just so you guys know, that's a lot for me, because normally I budget my time very strictly. And I normally only put in 1 or 2 days. I normally budget 2 days per learning lab. So we're double to triple that. And for this particular lab, it was extra. I had to put a lot more into it. It took me actually about 4 or 5 days to put all the code together for you. So I had two options. One thing, I could have done was I could have shown you a high level overview of all three of these things and left you at that. But I decided to go with the second option. I decided to go with breaking these up into 3 amazing trainings. So that's where this 3-part series comes into play. We're here on part 3. Parts 1 and 2 I did in last year. So if you want those are part of Learning Labs Pro. I'll talk about that program a little bit later on, but we're going to be focused on part 3 today. And this is a free training for all of you guys that have shown up live. And I'm excited to have and show this to you guys all. All right. So let's get moving. Now that you know the genesis and some of the background and how I feel about why I'm so passionate about Shiny, what I think it can do for your career, what it's done for my career, and some of the cool innovations that are coming. Now I want to dive into the business problem today. So I'm going to talk about this financial stock analysis, but how many of you guys on the call are in finance? Put 1 if you're in finance. Okay. All right. So this will be an immediate takeaway. You can immediately start plugging and play into your current workflow, being able to do financial analysis with Python and then automating it with Shiny. All right. Now, question, how many of you guys are not in finance? So you're either in marketing, manufacturing, sales, supply and demand forecasting, whatever. Okay. So good news for you is if your company has competitors, you can also use this business problem. All right. Or if you have a 401k and you want to analyze your own stocks, you're going to be able to take a lot of the code and the information today and be able to apply it there. So there's lots of use cases for this. Don't feel like if you just need to be in finance in order to take something valuable away today. That's just the business problem that I picked. We will be focusing on financial analysis and stock analysis a little bit, but it's not going to be anything too crazy. We aren't going to do anything that a basic, understanding of Excel wouldn't be able to understand from the analysis standpoint. All right, but close your eyes for a second and picture this. You work for this company called JP Morgan Chase. JP Morgan Chase, they are one of the biggest banks in the world. And what these guys have been doing is they have you doing financial analysis for them. All right. So open your eyes, guys. You now work for this company for the next hour and 15 minutes or so that you're with me. All right. Your boss just told you, he just delivered a big blow to you. He wants you to review all 507 companies in the S&P 500 to see which investments might be the best in a recessionary environment. Okay. And he adds one thing. I want this report from you. I want you to pick the best stocks and best financial, investments. And I want that every 2 weeks. Oh man, you do some quick math. You figure, okay, it takes about 30 minutes per company to, get their overview of the company, to, check out their income statement, to check out the stock performance and put together a report on them, times 507 companies is about 253.5 hours. Ugh. There's only 40 hours in a week. And if they want this every 2 weeks, you only have 80 hours available. And you got other stuff you got to do too. How are you going to get this done? Looks like somebody's going to be working some overtime, right? No, thanks. Instead, I'm going to do something smarter. I'm going to automate. And this is what helped me in my career to save that 20 hours per week and get that first promotion. So I'm going to make this shiny app. It's a nice little financial app. It does a lot of cool stuff. First, it allows me to sift through all 507 stocks very quickly, pulling in the stock chart performance for each one and reviewing them very quickly. It allows me to pull in a company summary that my boss cares about. So it has things like the profit margin, the revenue growth, all the things that your boss, gets excited about when you start analyzing these companies. And you even gave them, you built the functionality to download reports for your boss for the good companies. So what used to take 30 minutes per analysis now takes about 3 seconds. You're able to quickly check the metrics, pull in the information, and move on to the next one. And if one of them catches your eye, you just download the reports. Very simple. And those reports that you download, you can send to your boss. Nice company summary reports like this that has all the information about that company, so he can then start investigating to see if they should invest in that company. All right, pretty simple, right? Well, here's the real result. Meanwhile, your boss thinks you're Superman, okay? Because you're giving them exactly what he wanted and even more information. All right, but really, you're just using this good old shiny. All right, who's ready for a demo? Let's figure out how to build this thing. Okay. So before I dive into this demo, here's the deal. I put in about 5 days worth of work, and to realistically teach you Python, and I'm a good teacher, I'm a good trainer, trust me guys, but it's very optimistic to think you're going to leave here today as an expert in Shiny for Python, let alone R or whatever programming language you use. So what I highly recommend you guys is to see what I really want you guys to take away is my workflow. And I'm going to go through step by step of how I actually build a Shiny app. So you guys can take that away. You guys are going to still see all the code and everything, which is great. But I really want you guys to go in with the mindset of what realistically the transformation is going to happen in the next 30 minutes. Okay. Again, Shiny, it took me a little while, probably at least 6 months to really master it. So realistically, in 30 minutes, just come away with the workflow, come away with how a Shiny app kind of, you build it up progressively and how to actually do that. And that'll actually be super valuable. So I'm going to show you the code now. Here's what all of the Learning Labs content is in this lesson. So here is the structure. And if you guys have never seen this, this is VS Code. It's a program that I use for running Python. There is a couple of folders in here, and this is going to be that workflow, that progressive workflow that I use to build up my Shiny apps. And I do this whether I'm programming in Shiny in R or in Python. It's the same type of workflow. Okay. We'll create first a simple app. We'll then create a better app, and then we'll create a placeholder app, which has kind of like static visualizations and stuff in it. And then we'll make it a reactive app. I'll explain what that is in a second. I'm going to show you all of the code for these four, and then there's a bonus app. So the bonus app is the one that has all the bells and whistles, and I'll explain what that means here in a little bit, but that's really the one that you're going to give your boss, and they're going to, give you that 15% raise probably. So there's also a financial analysis. With any Shiny app that you build, it starts with an analysis. The analysis is just going to be, you can do this in like either Jupyter. I usually do it in these Pi files, and it's just going to be the analysis that you want to automate. And then there's some instructions for the lab. I actually have the instructions pulled up here. What I'm doing is actually previewing them over here. So it's just a markdown. It's going to go through the project setup instructions. One important point too. If you go to Shiny's website right now, you're going to see that it says alpha. What does this mean? This is a question I got like a ton on LinkedIn when I was posting stuff. Well, in my opinion, everything in Python is alpha. So to call something alpha, I don't care, because I've seen it with many other packages. I won't name them, but I've used their packages before, and guess what? They make changes all the time that break your code. So alpha means nothing to me. What you need to do though, is if you want to create a production ready app, meaning like I can actually use the app today in production, but you got to lock it down. You got to have a requirements.txt file. So for our purposes, we're going to have a requirements.txt file. It just looks something like this. And we use pip freeze to freeze the requirements. And this has all of the packages that I'm using, and it has the specific version. So if I go down here to Shiny, I'll see Shiny 0.2.9 is what I'm using for this training. Shiny widgets 0.1.4. But every package that I'm using today has a specific version. So if you want to reproduce the code, you got to use these packages and these versions. All right. So everything is alpha. If you put anything in the production and you don't have the requirements locked down, guess what? Your app is alpha. Your app is going to break. So we got to do that. That's important. Our goal today is to do a financial analysis. We're going to go through, first create this financial analysis.py file, and then we're going to automate it. And then we're going to go through and build the apps. Okay. So I'll explain these things, what the step-by-step process is, but this is all in the instructions.md file. So we'll close out of that for now. All right. So let's first take a look at the financial analysis that we're going to do today. So Python has a lot of great libraries. They've got numpy, pandas, yfinance, and plotly is very good for visualization. So we're going to use those today, and I'm just going to create a quick analysis here. So what I did was I hit Shift and Enter. It's sending it to my interactive session. If I open this up, you can see I just imported all of this stuff over here. And make sure that you're using your Lab 80 Shiny Python environment, which will be created when you create the requirement, when you use the requirement.txt file. Okay. All right. Come on, baby. Yeah, it's warming up. All right. There it goes. Okay. The next thing, my user, the way I foresee them doing this analysis is they're going to have a symbol like Microsoft, and they're going to also, there'll be a short and a long moving average. I'll show you where those come into play. That's going to be on the stock chart. And then there's a period, a look back period. So I'm going to enter these as static variables. So these are just, if I put symbol in here now, shift enter, you're going to see my symbol is Microsoft, and so on. And if you want to take a look at your variables, I can see here that these are the variables that I'm starting to store in my environment. Okay. All right. Next thing. This is where yfinance comes in. So we imported yfinance as YF. I'm going to pull the stock, and that's going to create this stock object. All right. So you can see here, stock object is just a yfinance.ticker object, and it has Microsoft in here. Okay. What's really cool about yfinance is it's got all of these different attributes, and I'm just going to show you a couple today. So it's got this thing called stock.info. I'm going to save that as stock_info, and I'll show you what that contains. So this contains a ton of good information about any company out there. So if you're doing competitor analysis or financial analysis, you can pull in the stock info, and it's going to give you things like the zip code, the sector, the full-time employees, a long business summary, all sorts of stuff. Okay. And this will be really useful in our app because we'll want to display maybe a few of these. Okay. The second thing we can get the income statement. So that's with stock.income statement. I can get the income statement for the last 4 quarters. So for any different stock, and this is Microsoft, I'm getting their total revenue per quarter or per year for the last 4 years. And their operating revenue, cost of revenue, gross profit, everything in here, even EBITDA and all the good stuff. Okay. And then we can also get stock history. Now I'm going to set period equal to 5 years. You can see period is 5 years, and that's going to give me 5 years of stock history. All right. Cool. So now we have, and this is the open, high, low, close, volume, and dividends, and et cetera. So now we can actually chart the stock performance. Okay. So once we have this information, now we can do a little bit of exploratory work. If I take a look at stock info, this is a dictionary, so I can get the keys. And what I can do is I can take a quick look. So if I grab one of these keys, I can actually get, like, for example, the stock info industry. So industries in here, and that might be something that's useful to display in a summary. And you can see it's software infrastructure. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is full-time employees. So I can grab how many full-time employees they have. I can get their website. So this is all good stuff that I can put into a web app. I can maybe get some financial ratios, things like profit margin, things like revenue growth, shift enter, current ratio, and I can get total revenue, financial operations information, total revenue, EBITDA, operating cash flow. How would you like to have your operating cash flow to be this big, right? This is dollars, guys. So that's, let's see, 3. So this is millions, $87.6 billion in operating cash flow. That's crazy. All right, cool. We can get the income statement. We already showed you that. And then we can get the stock history too. Now the stock history, what I want to do is I want to actually take, so if I reset the index, that's going to take the date feature. So right now, your date is your index. And I want to get that out of there. It's going to be useful for charting. So I'm going to do stock history reset index. And I'm going to save this as, and I'm just going to take the close. So this is the adjusted close over that time period. And I'm going to store this as stock DF. And then I'm going to do just a quick financial analysis. Now, this is nothing more than doing some moving averages. So we're going to use from the pandas library, the rolling function. And what I'll do is apply a rolling average, and it's going to be at a 30-day window. So we're going to see that stock DF now has a new column added called moving average short. And we'll chart this so you can see what it looks like here in a second. And we're going to do the same thing for the long moving average. So shift enter. So here's what my stock DF looks like. I got my date, my close, my moving average short, my moving average long. And now what I can do is I can make a visualization. And this might be what your boss, one of the things he might want to see is a, what the chart is of the thing. Now, I will say this, Plotly, I love that company. I love the Plotly library, but their defaults kind of suck. What I want to do is I want to actually make this look a lot better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my PX line, I'm going to save it. So this first part is going to first adjust some of the colors for the lines. All right. So I'm going to store that as fig. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually update it. I'm going to replace the background and make it a transparent background. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, there we go. Transparent. And then we still need the axes in here. So what I want to do is I want to have the y-axes updated. So I'm going to do that right here and give it a grid again. So now we got our y-axes, and I'm going to do the same thing with the x-axes and update that again. All right, cool. So now I got a chart here. So I got a chart. I got income statement information. I got company summary information. I'm feeling good. But then I realized, oh crap, I got to do this for 507 more stocks. This kind of sucks. So that's where Shiny comes in. So what I'm going to do is I actually want to go back to my instructions. Here, let me exit out of this. If I right click this, and if you have the Markdown preview extension, it allows you to preview Markdown. So now that you see this financial analysis, what I want to do is I want to build a Shiny app so I can automate this and do this stuff very quickly. So we're going to go through kind of a few different steps. The first step is just to get a Shiny app running. Now, before you do that, I do have a pro tip. So there's this Python or Shiny for Python VS Code extension. It's really cool. So instead of having to run like the Shiny run down here all the time, you can do this option 2, which is what we're going to do. You install the VS Code extension, which is right here. And then it'll give you a play button. It looks like this, and you're just able to run the app using the play button. I'll show you that here in a second. So to get this first app up and running, I already created it, but basically if you run pip install Shiny, then Shiny create 01 simple app, and then run the simple app, it'll actually build this whole simple app for you. So it creates this app.py file, and it looks like this, where you've got from Shiny import app render and UI. There's 2 parts to a Shiny app. There's a UI, user interface, and a server component. So the user interface starts with a page. So they're using a fluid page. They're going to add an H2 header in here. They're going to add a slider input, and then they're going to add an output. So the output, so what's going to happen is the user has an input. It's going to go down here to the server function, and it's going to run something, okay? So the way it works is you identify it with a decorator in this server function. You identify it with @output, @render.text, which is the type of output that it's going to render. So it's going to render a text element. And then you use the function and you define it with this, whatever the name is of this function that you define, that's what you're going to refer to back up here. So the key things that you need to know, 1, how the user is going to input information. Number 2, what the expectation is coming out of it. And this is just going to be some text or what's called verbatim text. So let's run this thing. So you see how I just hit that play button? That just saves you. I mean, for how simple it is, all it does is it runs this Shiny command. It tells it to run this right here. It runs this like mshiny, but like it saves you so much headache. So it just makes a simple app here. And then if you want to open that up in a web browser, you can open it up over here. And it's just this Hello Shiny. So anytime that you move this, it's basically just doubling. So whatever number you land on, it multiplies it by 2. All right, not the world's best app, but in 2 seconds, you got a Shiny app running for you. So the key here is when you run this thing, so you see what's happening, this input is right here. It's got it's what's called a slider input. So that is the shape of the input. It's a slider. You slide this thing and it picks a number for you. And what's nice about a slider is it goes from a lower limit, a minimum, to an upper limit, a maximum. So that's 0 to 100. And it has a default value, which is 20. So if I just refresh this, it lands on 20 to start out. Okay. It has an ID. This ID is N. And that ID here, if you see down here is input dot whatever that ID is that you give it, it's going to pull the value. So that value is 20 right now. It's taking 20 and popping it right in here. It's using an F string. So if you've ever seen that in Python, that's pretty cool. You put whatever is in brackets and it'll actually run code right next to text. So you see this is text. So N asterisk 2 is space. So N asterisk 2 is space. And then this is code here. And it's just running anything in these brackets. It's going to run. It's going to take your input dot N times 2. So that's where they get 40. Okay. And to display that, whatever this text is, so if you identify it as an output and render text, you're going to use UI output underscore, and they have all of these different options. So if I type in down here, UI dot underscore output, they've got plot, images, tables, text verbatim. So what if I change this from verbatim to just text? Okay, let me hit the play button. All right. Well, I forgot to save it. Let me save it first. Okay, as soon as you hit save, it reruns, refreshes it. What did I? Oh, oops, gotta get rid of that. Save that. There. So now it's actually part of that website. It just looks like normal text in a website. So that's the difference between output text and output verbatim. So verbatim looks like code. I almost never use verbatim actually in an app. I always use like 99% of the time I actually use output text. All right. Okay. So moving on. The next step that I do is, now that I got an idea, what I want to do is I want to start making something that is going to be a little more powerful, right? And when I say powerful, the first thing I think of is the user interface. The user has got to like what they're looking at. Otherwise, and if that user is you, I'm picky. I want something that looks good, right? So I'm going to adjust the user interface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out of this app, and we're going to move on to the second app now, which is Better App, showcasing Bootstrap 5 under the hood. So we're going to create the user interface with Bootstrap. We're going to use placeholders for areas that we want to fill out later with calculations. And we want to get the same simple app calculation running. So we know we've got the server set up properly. So I'm going to move over. I'm going to open up this app.py file. All right. So this one's, we're jumping ahead of ourselves. Not 03. I want to go to 02. There we go. All right. So the goal here is just to get Bootstrap 5 and the styles.css file working. So I want to show you how to use a thing called a style.css. I want to give my app a logo, and I want to start making it look like it belongs to my company. All right. So we're going to add to our imports. I don't think we actually even use any of these yet. But we do need the pathlib path, because we'll be linking to, we'll have to use some paths to access some of these. Okay, I'm going to give my app a title. And usually if I have just like static things that I like to adjust, I'll put it here at the top of my app. I'm going to start to build out a layout, and I'm going to have some page dependencies. So the first thing I like to do is I like to add a style.css. So this might be for changing fonts. So I'm using Roboto, weight 100 and weight 400 in this app. So for my paragraph and body fonts, I'm using Roboto 100. And for my H1, like all of these headers right here, I'm going to use Roboto, and that's going to default to 400 weight, a little bit thicker. Okay. And so we're going to show you how to start pulling this in. So let me just run this app here. Hit the play button, and I'll show you what it looks like. So you can see it's got quite a difference now. So we've got the exact same computation that's running, but now I've got a bunch of other stuff in here, and it's starting to look like a better app. Okay, so I got a logo in here. This is different text, different fonts, and it starts to look a little bit better. And if you don't think this is important, let me tell you what, your boss cares as much as how that app looks as how it functions. If you don't have the logo of your company on it, if you don't have the company's fonts or something similar, then he's not going to want to use it, and he's going to think you're an amateur. So you want to come off professional. So this step is absolutely critical. I can't stress that enough. All right. So let's talk about this app real quick. What am I doing differently in here? So we've got the page dependencies. So I'm using this thing called UI tags head, and I'm going to put in the head this link to a style sheet. So that style sheet is going to be located in this www folder. Where that comes into play is down here. We're going to have a www directory, and and this is where that path is. You're going to use path to the parent, and then it's looking in the www folder. So it basically says, go up here to wherever this app is located, and then look in this folder, and that's where my assets are that need to be found. Okay. Really important that you get that straightened out. Otherwise, your CSS isn't going to load properly. Okay. The next thing, I switched over to the UI page nav bar, and it gets a little more complicated because it's got like a drop down here. But let me break it down for you. We got UI.nav. So anytime you have a nav bar, your nav elements are going to be like, think of it like the stock analysis is one page in your app, and you can have multiple pages. So if I add another one here, so let me just do that real quick. UI.nav. I'm going to add another nav element, and I'm going to call this something cool, and this is rad. Okay, let me save that. And what that's going to do is it now has a new tab, something cool, this is rad, and then my stock analysis is over here. So you kind of see how you can build these out, and then this, is basically the same concept. It's like something cool would be down here on the next line, and then the content is what I'm building out here. Okay, in this is rad section. Okay, so let me comment that out, and we'll get rid of that. Something is cool. So that's basically how that works. Once I have my nav bar page set up, real quick, to get this title and everything looking right, I had to do a little bit of funky stuff. This can just be copied though, every single time. What you do is you put your logo, and that path to that logo has to be in your www folder. That's where it's going to look. So that business science logo PNG, it's going to pull that in. I'm giving it a height of 56 pixels. And then I'm adding UI H4, so a H4 header. And then I'm just giving it a space plus the title. So a little space in here. If I want to make it bigger, I can do a H5 or H3. I want to make it a little bigger. You can customize it, and it'll make this a little bit bigger. And if I want to make it smaller, we can do like an H5. So it's pretty easy to customize once you get kind of the basics set up. So I'm going to settle on H4. And then this style here, this display flex, don't think you need to know CSS. You just copy this, and it just puts these. Otherwise, if I don't have this style in here, so if I take that out, what it's going to do is stack these two on top of each other, and you don't want that. You want it to look side by side, the title of your app and the logo. Okay. Okay, so that's basically how this is set up. And then everything down here is what we haven't talked about yet. So it's just a nav element, and we're going to do this thing called a layout sidebar. Layout sidebar is really powerful because it'll automatically give you what's called a sidebar. So there's a sidebar and then a main. Your sidebar is everything over here that goes in this kind of gray region, and then your main is everything over here. So in my sidebar, I've got the Hello Shiny. I just basically copied that from the simple app, and then the input slider. Okay, so I've got my slider input here. And then in the main section, I'm using this UI panel. So we got UI panel sidebar for sidebar. And then main is UI panel _ main. So it makes it easy to remember. And then I'm going to put my H2 header here, and that's going to have my UI output text. Remember, it's not verbatim text, it's text, because I want it to look like it's part of the website. And I'm putting it in the H2 header. And then I have this new thing, which is kind of cool. It's got, I can start to put in kind of like placeholders for what I want to, how I want to build my app. So I've got a company place card, a chart place card or placeholder, and then an income statement. Okay, and that's called a pill card. And there's all sorts of different ones you can use. There's pill, which takes the kind of card out of it. So it just looks like this. You can do, yeah, if you just do nav set underscore and hit the underscore, you've got pill card, tab card, bar, tab, pill list. Here, let's see what a pill list looks like. So this is like a list and it'll pull them all up over here. Okay, so I'm going to leave it as pill card. And every time I save, it's refreshing. Also, notice that it's pretty fast. So Shiny for Python is built off of the same technology that Fast API uses. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Fast API. Put a 1 in the chat if you guys have heard of Fast API. Okay. Does anyone know why it's called Fast API? Anyone know why it's called Fast API? You guys are right, because it's super fast, right? Well, it's built off of this technology called UVcorn, so UVICORN, and it turns out that Shiny is built off of that same technology, so it loads really fast. Okay, so every time I make a change, it's gonna like update almost automatically, which is pretty cool. All right, so now we've got the UI kind of sorted out. The server actually doesn't really change. The only thing I changed, it wasn't actually related to the server, so it's still running the same calculation every time this doubles. It's just still doing that. But the only thing I changed was instead of output text verbatim, I changed it to output text, and I put it here as the header. Okay. All right. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make a placeholder app, and this is the most complicated part. Okay. So the placeholder app is then taking this, and I'm going to start to integrate the stuff that was in my financial analysis. Okay. So like all of this stuff, all of this stuff, all of this stuff, basically all of that needs to go into my app now as a static thing. I'm not actually going to like I'm not going to like automate it yet, but I just need to like first integrate it in so it's like static. Okay. And this is my process. So I'm going to create what's called a placeholder app. And the goal of my placeholder app is to integrate the static financial analysis, to add cards to make the UI look professional, and to use widgets, which is the interactive plotly plot. So that way, so this is called a widget. All right. So once you take that figure, it ends up becoming, because it's interactive, it uses JavaScript libraries and stuff. It becomes a widget. So we need to make sure that gets integrated properly. So I'm going to, the www folder still stays the same in placeholder 3. So I'm going to open up the app.py file, and let me pull it over here. And then I'm going to run it. Okay. And just so you can see what it looks like. So are you going? There it goes. Simple browser firing up. Okay. So this is what it looks like now. Once I get the integration put in. Now I did put a little placeholder in here, but like if I change this, the only thing that's changing is this. My plots aren't changing. My company information is not changing. My income statement table isn't changing. It's all static in here. Static means not changing. I'm just kind of getting the foundation set for making it reactive, which is where it will be automated. Okay. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. I need to explain and kind of walk through this because there's a lot to it. So I'm going to minimize this for a second, and we're going to focus on this app.py file. So this is in the O3 placeholder app. So we're going to use a few more imports. We're going to have to use this library called Shiny Widgets, which allows us to use plotly plots inside of our Shiny apps. Okay, very important. We're going to import the functionality that we needed from our financial analysis. So the numpy, pandas, yfinance, plotly express. We're also going to have to use graph objects because that's how the widgets are set up. We have to convert our plotly express object to a plotly graph object. Okay. And then the path library, we had that imported last time. So really the main change is this for the Shiny widget. And then we're starting to add in some of our financial analysis stuff. Okay. All right, so just like before, I'm doing some data ingest. So all of the stuff in my financial analysis where I did like this stuff up here, I'm just going to plop that right in the top of my app. And that's going to be kind of like what I call data ingest. I'm going to add some functions. Now, I don't want you to get hung up on this. So what I want to show you is, I'll show you what this does. This my card function is going to take a title, a value, and what it's going to do is it's going to create like these cards for me. So if I run that over here, this def my card, I just ran that. I need to import or from Shiny import UI, shift enter, and then these squigglies should go away. So if I run my card and give it a title of revenue, and give it a value of, so I do 2080, I don't know, whatever that number is. And then if I hit shift and enter, so, and then if I go to change presentation and I switch over to plain text, this is what that my card function is producing. So this is what's called HTML. It's got the divs, it's got this all set up. And basically what this is going to do is it's going to create a card for me, okay? Because I need to create a lot of these things in order to be able to produce all of these cards down here. These are called cards. Each one of these is a card. So it allows me to create all of these, all right? So that's what this function does. I'm just going to minimize it for now, just because, you know, beyond that, you don't really need to know what it does. Make Plotly chart. Okay, so this is basically a drop-in replacement for the Plotly code. So we're going to take in some data and a moving average short and a moving average long, and it's going to produce the Plotly plot. Okay. So you can see here, stock history is what it's going to take in. That's a data frame with the stock history and a moving average short and moving average long. This is so people can adjust them, the user, and then it's going to have that as a, you know, all that code that we already had from the financial analysis.py file. So I'm going to minimize that too, minimize both of these. And that's all you really need to know about those. Page dependencies stays the same. Nav bar roughly stays the same. But now what we're going to do is I'm going to take that UI panel sidebar and I'm going to adjust it a little bit. The H2 header, I'm now replacing the text and saying select a stock. And then the input, I'm now including what's called a selectize input. So selectize is cool because you can give it a list. And here I have, you know, you can give it a big list or a small list, but you can, and it'll create like a thing here that you can actually search. So Goog, and it'll pull it right up for you. You can do multiple selections. So we're going to give it this input with just 3 selections, and I'm going to have the default be Microsoft. Okay. And then in the main panel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this UI U2, that's just this piece right here. It doesn't really change. Then there's the widget or inside of this div, we're going to include some, so this is the chart right here. So I decided to pull this out. I didn't like how it looked, so I decided to pull it out of the card or the nav pill card and put it right up here so that the viewer sees the chart immediately. So they because that's the most critical thing. They want to be able to make a judgment call on that stock or that company. So they want to know what is that company and what is the financial performance or what does the stock performance look like? Because that's going to be the #1 indicator of whether or not you invest in them. Then in the pill card, this is basically additional information. We're going to have the company summary and the income statement. And you can see the UI is really not that complex. It's just kind of inside the placeholders, we're putting these outputs. So I have this output UI. I have this output widget. So for a Plotly object, you have to use this output widget, and we're going to pull a stock chart. And the same thing for the income table. It's just a kind of a UI output. Now, that's the UI, the server code has changed though. So in addition to here, I have the render text, which is what we had last time. But this time now I'm adding the stock info UI. So what that refers to is the company summary. Okay, so if I go to my company summary, I got to build all of this UI here, and I'm going to make it so that way it updates automatically. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing a UI row. I'm going to include a row. And then inside of that row, I'm going to include H5 company information. That's this right here. I'm going to use my card function 9 times. So I'm going to use it for the industry. I'm going to pull out the industry. I'm going to do full-time employees. And notice I have it formatted appropriately. So I'm using this Python trick to use the dot format function. And this will allow me to put my full-time employees as a number in there, and it'll convert it into a comma value. Same thing with the website. I'm using a trick here. I'm using a UI.a, which is an A tag. That allows me to make this an href. So when I click this, it'll actually pull up in a new tab. It'll actually pull up Microsoft's website. The same thing for financial ratios. Now it's very similar to what we did here with the full-time employees, but we got to put, you want sometimes percentages. So that's going to show as a percent. This is the same, shows as a percent. This one's a little different. It's going to show as a decimal value. So I want it to have two decimal places. These to have 1 decimal place. And that's going to produce those in the correct format. And then the same thing with financial operations. These are the only real difference here is the dollar value. So we want to put a $sign in front of some of these floats. And there you go. You got your cards. The stock chart's a little goofy because we have to use this thing called a widget. So before we were using this @render UI for this or @render text. But what I had to do for the Plotly plot, because it is what's called a widget, we need to import the output and render widgets. So output widget is going to be used right here. And that's where it's the location is going to be defined. And then down here, the rendering function, I'm going to use this render widget. And it's just a decorator. You just stack it on top, just like you do, your render UI. Okay. Next thing, the stock chart widget. It's actually really simple because we've got that make Plotly chart function. I just put the inputs in here. And then I return go.figure widget because this figure is actually a Plotly Express object. This will throw you for a loop. You got to switch it to a Go object. And Plotly has this function called go.figure widget, which will take that Plotly Express object and convert it over to a graph object or a Go object. Okay. And then it just plops it right in there for you. And then the next one is the income statement table. This one's really easy. I just return the income and then I reset the index. So that's what gets put out here. So I have an index and then I have each of the different yearly income statements. Okay. And then down here, this is the same. We got the www and then this creates the app. So if you understand that, that's the toughest part. It is tough. Then it took me like 3 days to make this because I was just learning it. But I will tell you this, once you break that down, going to the next step, which is this 04 reactive app. So actually making this thing work when I select a different stock, it's very simple. So let's quick preview. We're going to make a reactive app. This is where we automate. This is the thing that's going to save you 20 hours plus a week. At least it did me. So we're going to make all calculations and events reactive. And this will be the basic working action. And then the bonus app, that'll be, that'll be the bells and whistles app. So let's go over here. We're going to go to the reactive app, app.py. None of this really changes. This, you can keep that in there. That's fine. The card functionality doesn't really change. I'm going to minimize that. The dependencies don't change. None of this actually changes, I don't think, because all of these were needed to set up the static plots and stuff. So let me run this. Everything that changes is actually on the server end. So let me run this so I can show you like what happens, and we can go through the code together. So let me minimize that. So it's firing up. It actually takes a little bit longer to load up because it has to pull or ping that API for yfinance. But now when I select Google, it's pinging yfinance, pulling that data in. We've got our new fresh stock chart. The company information has changed. They've got, fewer employees. This is their website, different profit margins, and so on. And then same thing with Apple. If we pull Apple in, you can see the stock chart updates and consumer electronics, full-time employees, the website changes, and everything changes. So the question is, how did I do that? Well, it's all down here on the server end. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to do this thing called a reactive calc. And what this does is we're going to define a function that we're going to be able to use other places in our server code. And this is going to be pulling in that YF ticker. So anytime the user changes the stock symbol, that input.stock symbol changes, it's reactive. So it's going to react to it. It's going to automate it. So it's going to take that Apple, it's going to feed it in here, and it's going to grab YF.ticker for it. Okay. And it's going to store that as the stock function. Okay. So then what I can do down here in the UI is pull in the stock.info on it. I just run the .info function on it, and I pull in the stock info. And then all I do is I just take stock info. This is actually the same code as it was previously because it's already set up to work with the stock info parameter. Okay. So this is the only change here that I made. It'll run. Down here, this is the change that I did. I take stock history and I change that. And I just plug stock history in here. Actually, that was already pre-existing. And then I just change this over here, stock income statement. And now it just runs. And that was it. You got a fully functioning app. Pretty slick, huh? All right. Next thing, guys, I want to show you where you can extend this to. So I got a bonus app for my LL Pro members. If you join Learning Labs Pro, you will get this. I'll have it uploaded tomorrow morning. This bonus app extends the basic app with more data ingest, the full list of S&P 500 stocks, ability to search companies by name. You can have it has an analysis mode to update the moving averages. It adds plotly time windows. It makes the code modular using a utility directory, so your app file doesn't get all crazy. And it has the ability to download reports. So I want to demo this for you real quick. So I'm just going to go over here to my bonus app, pull up app.py, hit the play button on it. And what I'll do is just kind of show you how this works here. So this is now, you can see it's got all the names and it's got 507 different companies in here. So if I want to search this, I just hit the backspace and say I want it like ExxonMobil, pull that company up, pulls in the information. I can do analysis mode, change around the moving averages. They all adjust. And I can even download like the company summary. What that'll do is, I think you actually have to have this open in a browser. So if I open this in a browser, or we'll do it for Exxon, since that was our example. And you can download all three of these reports, download it, show that in the Finder. Pulls open this. This is the folder, the file. And your boss now has the report, or you can send them the report. And it looks something like this, where it's got all of the information in it. Okay, cool. So that'll save a lot of time for you. Now, I do have some conclusions. So I want to talk about how this can help your career. So conclusions, we're going to see the slide deck for conclusions. So You guys just learned how to automate a financial analysis. That's what we did, right? Can you tell me yes or no? Put a yes or no in the chat. I'm seeing some no's. Seeing some no's. I'm seeing some ones too. Nice. All right. What do we really do? That's the key question. It's never as we seem. All right. Here's what we actually did. You learned how to get a $150,000 salary today, believe it or not. That's 15% more than the average data scientist doing what I showed you. Now, the key question is how? Well, it turns out that companies everywhere are using a process like this. It looks something like this. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever been in a data science department, but normally has more than one person. There's usually a project manager on every project. There's usually 1 or 2 or 3 data scientists and 1 or 2 engineers, okay? And there's this really complicated process that they go through, all right? There's usually 4 phases to it: scope, research, development, production. This is what you need to do in order to get that 15% raise. You know, when I was talking about going from 75 to 90, that was one thing. But now to go from 90 to 150, that's a whole nother ball game. All right. And what you have to do is you have to deliver a solution. Does that make sense to everybody? Put a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. Okay. So we have to do this complicated process, right? But there's a big problem. You see, in between these 2 steps, there's the IT department. And the IT department goes like this. This is a typical conversation, all right? I don't know if you guys have ever worked in companies, but IT's the cool guys that have all the power. And you meet with your IT department, and the IT department says, yeah, so this project isn't really going to be a priority for the next 6 months. You say, okay. It's not all bad news, though. We have another project we need finished pronto. Seriously? Can't you just finish this one? This is the one we need. No. And then the cool guys just continue. So the key thing is that the IT department is stopping you from doing the 5 critical steps, this highlighted in yellow, all of these 5 things, which is where you actually get business value. And if you want a raise, this is what you actually need to get done. So you've been at this for weeks, and this is the normal, these are true time frames. And you're so close to getting something done. But this guy will derail your entire career. I've seen it a million times. And this is why back when I was working at my last company, I decided to take matters into my own hand. And if I were you, I would avoid this process at all costs. Okay. I want a process that looks like this. Very simple. Start, finish. It's a line. And I found one. I call it the path. The path does 2 things. It shows you what to do for any data science project, and it shows you what skills you need to learn. And truth be told, it's the biggest secret to my success as a data scientist, as a teacher, coach, consultant. Do you guys mind if I show you the path? Let me know in the chat. Does anyone want to see what this path looks like? All right. Okay. I'm seeing some yeses. I told you guys at the beginning of this presentation, you should take some notes. If you haven't been doing so, now's the time to get that notepad out. All right. Before you can solve any problems, you need a foundation in data science. So this is what the path starts with: foundational skills in R. You need to learn things like data cleaning, data wrangling, visualization, exploratory data analysis, machine learning, clustering, reporting. These are all the skills that all beginning data analysts and data scientists should know. All right. Then after that, you need business problem solving skills. Okay. Business problem solving is being able to deliver things like correlation analysis, how to cost a problem, how to do pre-processing of the data in that domain, how to tell the story to leadership, how to do automated machine learning to speed up your analyses, how to do explainable AI/ML, because, well, let's face it, business people don't understand black box machine learning algorithms, sensitivity analysis, and more. And if you work for any company that sells anything, you're going to need to be able to do time series forecasting. Now, time series forecasting is super powerful. If you work in a company, every single one is going to do some form of selling, all right? That means that if you can predict sales, revenue drops, supply and demand, etc., before they happen, how valuable do you think you're going to be? Being able to predict the future is actually one of the most profitable skills a data science can possess. But if you screw it up, you're going to feel the repercussions. So you need to be able to do the analysis and the business stuff. And then you need to learn how to build tools for yourself. And this is kind of where we started today with was Shiny for Python, right? So building tools for yourself looks like this. You build tools that create reproducible and repeatable analysis. You take that thing that used to take you, 5 hours every week, and you automate it. So it takes you 5 seconds, okay? And getting tools into production is the single most valuable way for any non-techie to do anything at your work that generates value, okay? So if you give them something like this, they're going to be able to use it. And they're not going to have to come to you every single time saying, hey, Matt, can you write that report for me again? Or, hey, Matt, I need that analysis pronto. Well, you automate it for them. You give them the tool, and then that gets them off your back. All right. The next thing is building tools for your company. So that's the 5th and final step on the path. And that looks like this. So building tools for your company, this automates your entire business process. This cuts the IT department out completely. So you don't got to worry about cool IT man messing up your raise. And it automatically turns you into a leader when you can build these applications and get them into production yourself. Okay. So that's what you need to be able to do. So with the path, you have all the knowledge you need to complete projects by yourself, taking the entire team out of the equation, including the IT department. You don't need the CEO to get angry when they ask you to solve problems and you can't get it done fast enough because the IT department's handcuffing you. You don't need data engineers. You can do all of that. You don't need to be micromanaged by a project manager. You don't need the IT department to do their job. Okay. When you do the path, this is where we transcend between being a data scientist and we transform into something different. It's called a business scientist. This is somebody that can take the business problems, understand the needs, understand the value that they can deliver, and they execute. They finish the job. When you pull this off by yourself, you become a one-man data science team. And this means that if the data science team has 10 people to it, each person makes $124,000 per year on average. That's $1.24 million in salary. And you get 5x as much done when you complete projects in 3 months that take them 15 months, if the IT department lets them. So let me ask you a question. In one hand, you have the data science team, the IT man at a $1.24 million salary and 15 months per project. And on the other hand, you have the business scientist, a whopping $155,000 in 2 to 3 months per project. Who do you think has a better chance of survival in a recession? Question. What would happen if you could correctly identify massive holes in the business, produce a plan to plug those holes, create a verified solution, create products which generate millions of dollars in revenue, and create solutions that save millions of dollars of costs? And you can put that whole thing into production yourself. What would happen to your portfolio? Remember, I asked you guys at the beginning, who here is still with me, who needs a job or who wants a job and needs something for their portfolio? All right. What do you think would happen to your income? Who here is a senior data scientist who wanted to get that promotion? Put a 2. What do you think would happen to your title? You think manager, director? That's what happened to me. What do you think is going to happen to you? And what do you think would happen if you wanted to switch jobs? And we all know what the economic climate is right now. What do you think would happen when layoffs came around? This is how I went from earning $75,000 a year to over $155,000 a year by following this same exact recipe, by taking all of the other people out of my future. They didn't dictate it anymore. I took off the handcuffs. I did it myself. I rolled up my sleeves. Yeah, it was a little bit of work, but it was a lot of fun too. And I learned some things, and I figured out how to get things done. And it more than doubled my salary. What do you guys want for your career? But there's a big problem. How do you become a business scientist? Well, I've created a special offer to help you become a business scientist. Would anyone like to see it that's still with me in the chat? Let me know. Give me a 1 if you guys want to see what that offer looks like. All right, let's do it. I'm seeing tons of 1s. We're fired up. We're having fun here, right, guys? This is good information. You guys need to know the reality of the situation and what you guys can do to avoid it. So let's get to the offer now. This is how to destroy everything that is holding you back and get you to that raise, to that new job, to the interview portfolio. This is how you do it, guys. So it starts with becoming a business scientist. Starts by following the path, and you start with the first course, which is called Data Science for Business, Part 1. And in Data Science for Business, Part 1, you learn foundations of data science so you can perform basic machine learning, produce high-quality business reports that you can use to generate insights, clean and work with data, visualize data, which produce those insights, machine learning algorithm foundations. These are all the general foundational steps for both data analysts and data scientists, and that's what you learn. You learn the 20 most important functions for data wrangling. You learn how to master ggplot2 like a pro. This is absolutely critical for storytelling. You learn the special data types, time series text, and categorical data. You learn how to create functions and iterate using the per library. You learn how to do k-means clustering to make a customer segmentation. You learn how to do machine learning to model prices for your company. You learn how to do customer segmentation report, one of 2 reports you make. And what does this all get you? That's the key question, right? So when you learn this information, this is what it did for one of my students. David is a student in my courses. And with this knowledge he gained in just the first course, he nearly doubled his salary as an analyst. Okay? That's the key here. So today you guys are going to start with Data Science for Business Part 1, a $659 value. Next is business problem solving. And for that, I have Data Science for Business Part 2. So in Data Science for Business Part 2, what I teach you is how to solve a $5 million per year business problem. You see, these are the types of problems that you can't find on the internet, how to solve them. These are the things that are really going to dictate whether or not you become a business scientist or you just stay a data scientist. And we all know what happens there in this recessionary environment. You're going to learn how to use a repeatable framework that can be applied to almost any business problem. You're going to learn how to solve the entire business problem step by step. You're going to learn how to use the advanced tools, the same tools that I used to use, and some new ones, things like automated machine learning and explainable AI. And you're going to learn how to develop financial decision-making using return on investment and show organizational savings. These are the skills that will help you ascend your organizational ladder and really get into that next level. You're going to learn things like my business science problem framework. This is the same framework that I used when I was consulting. So how many here are with me are consultants or want to be consultants? This was the single most powerful tool in my arsenal. It's the framework that basically allowed me to double my rates and showed that it's going to take about 12 weeks to finish a problem. And you know what? They bought in. The next thing, H2O AutoML, which is the secret to making hundreds of machine learning models automatically, massive productivity enhancer. You're going to learn how to cost the problem, the single mistake that every data scientist makes before they start a project, and it gets them off on the wrong foot. You're going to learn how to correct that. You're going to learn pair plots so you can find quick wins in your data. You're going to learn how to do feature engineering so your models are amazing. And you're going to learn the H2O leaderboard for tracking machine learning models. You're going to learn how to do model performance for comparing models and pick the best models to take into production. And you're going to learn how to explain those models, keys for telling the story. And guess what? Your business leaders need those. You're not only going to be able to tell what that model is doing, but why that model predicted that employee that's going to leave the company. And you're going to learn how to optimize the model to tune it for expected savings. This is where you get that ROI, return on investment. And you're going to learn how to perform sensitivity analysis so you can see the effect on key performance indicators or KPIs. When the models change, how's that going to affect your expected savings? Okay. You're going to learn how to make a recommendation to give management a strategy that saves them money. And let me give you an example of what happens when you take this course, or what can happen. This is Augie. He's a student in my course, and he applied what he learned in this course, and it saved his organization $400,000 per month, which is almost $5 million per year. And he says here, down here, the skills displayed during the project were a major consideration factor in my promotion to analytics manager a few months later, and it was all thanks to the skills that I picked up in this specific course. Think about that. His company promoted him to analytics manager because of the skills that he learned in this specific course. So you guys are getting Data Science for Business Part 1, Data Science for Business Part 2, a total value of $1,758. Now, next on the path is time series. You see, for time series, you're going to get my high performance time series course. In a high performance time series, you're going to learn how to solve a special type of problem that costs organizations millions of dollars. This is absolutely critical. I used to do this back at my last company, and it can save them a ton of money. You're going to learn strategies from 4 state-of-the-art time series competitions. You're going to use custom software that I wrote to make forecasts at scale, 1,000 or more. And you're going to learn to use advanced techniques like machine learning, deep learning, and feature engineering. Absolutely critical to making high-performance forecasts at scale. You learn the 6 most important time series visualizations. You learn how to summarize by time, a secret of the pros. You learn how to do box-Cox transformations, how to detect outliers and perform time series imputation, external regressors, the model time workflow, which cuts code from 10,000 lines to 200. And this is actually literally, I used to have a code base of 10,000 lines when I was forecasting with all of these different, algorithms. It cuts it down into 200 lines. Massive, massive win. You learn how to use ARIMA. I call this the enemy. You learn how to you learn XGBoost for beating the enemy for forecasting. You learn how to use ARIMA boost, which is for improving on the enemy. You learn how to do hyperparameter tuning to stabilize your forecasts. You learn how to do ensembles, and this is a secret. 5 bad models will make 1 good model if you do it the right way. You learn how to use deep AR versus ARIMA. You learn how to combine deep learning and machine learning models for time series specifically. And the key is, what does this all get you? Well, Amit is a student in my course, and he used the time series course to get his new job. He was able to complete the interview assignments, and he says here, I would not have my job if it wasn't for you. He says, this course helped me move into the final rounds. I was able to do everything within 2 days. And if it wasn't for your courses, it would have definitely taken me longer. And I don't think my results would have been half as good to move on to the final rounds. So he was able to get his job, machine learning senior associate at PwC. So guys, you're getting Data Science for Business Part 1, Data Science for Business Part 2, and my high performance time series course today. That's a total value of $2,637. Next is building tools for yourself. In Shiny Web Applications Part 1, you are going to learn the foundations for production data science. You're going to learn how to build web applications. You're going to learn how to automate key business analysis and processes. And you're going to learn how to empower your company to make data-driven decisions for years to come. This is the first app that I teach you how to build in that course. So we extend the typical sales dashboard with forecasting. And this is something that happens on the fly with algorithms on the server. Okay. This is a massive win, something that Tableau or Power BI cannot do. This is a game changer. The second app that I teach you to build is right here. And this is a price product estimation tool. So you can think of all of the things that product marketing and R&D all get wrong. They can't accurately find gaps in their products, and they can't find solutions to fill those gaps efficiently. And if they pick the wrong product, it's going to cannibalize their sales. So this is a tool that they can use. You learn how to build both of these. And I'd like to introduce you to Habby. She's a student of mine. This is the first Shiny app that she's ever built, and it's amazing. Within this first course, within the first couple of modules in that course, she was able to analyze stock prices of top tech firms, and she made this for her data science portfolio after taking this course. So this fills that gap if you're looking for a job, if you're trying to create something that's going to catch the organization's eye. And here's Francesc, who made a Euro stock analyzer for his portfolio. And he uses both the time series course, because you can see the forecasting, and he uses the Shiny Web Apps course as well. So you guys are getting my Data Science for Business Part 1, Data Science for Business Part 2, my time series course, my Shiny Web Applications Part 1 course, a total value of $3,506. And next is building tools for your company. In the Shiny Web Apps Part 2 course, which I'm going to give you for that, you're going to learn cloud technologies, AWS and Docker, scale and deploy data science applications. You're going to learn how to add in security authentication and enterprise security, which is absolutely essential. You're going to learn how to connect to backend databases. You're going to learn how to customize a user interface, integrate an API, and basically everything that you need to know in order to deploy applications in the enterprise. The amazing thing is that you don't just build an awesome app in that course, but you actually deploy it using AWS Cloud Technology, Git and GitHub for production code, and Docker and Docker Hub for the production environment. These are the exact skills that companies pay senior data scientists $150,000 per year or more. And I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. This is Mohana. He is a student of mine. He took this course last, and it's what got him all of these raises. You can see after entry into my life, just in another 6 months of 3.5% raises, which is what he was getting before, he got a 10% hike. And then after another 6 months, he got a 26% hike. And in just another 2 months, a 40% hike. It says here, I could grab a job wherever I want. Now, if you do the math, guys, that's a total of a 94% raise within an 8-month period. And the secret was being able to deploy applications and began outproducing his Python counterparts threefold using the processes that I teach. This is the type of apps that you build. And today you're getting Data Science for Business Part 1, Data Science for Business Part 2, my High Performance Time Series course, my Shiny Web Apps Part 1 course, my Shiny Web Apps Part 2 course, a total value of $4,385. Now, what about projects? Well, you complete 8 end-to-end projects throughout the entire program. You complete a customer segmentation, a product price prediction, a $5 million churn prediction, a $5 million plus demand forecasting prediction, demand forecasting app, a product price recommender app, stock analyzer app, and an application library to house all of the apps that you're building for your company. What about lifetime support? Well, I have that too. We have a Slack channel where I have 2,752 students, and actually it's a lot more than that now. And all of these students are going through that same process, the same system that you're taking along with you. All right. And the beauty of it is when you need a question answered, I'm in there all the time answering questions, helping you through the program. What results can I get? Well, here's what happens when you join the path with me. An example is David Espinola. He says, your courses gave me the confidence to get through the interview process. And he was able to secure an offer at Microsoft as a machine learning support engineer. Next, Justin. He was able to fully transition into a lead data science. In fact, he says here, in less than 6 months, I had fully transitioned into a lead data scientist at Northwestern Mutual. And you can see after starting my first BSU course, his life is now better for it. 6 months, guys. It can happen quickly too, even if you're a complete beginner. This is Ben, another one of my students. Ben took my courses and he was able to get 2 competing job offers. This is the exact point that you want to be in. You want to be in this position when you're out there searching for jobs, because it's not, can I get a job? It's which job do I pick? Which one? And you can have them compete for you. So he struggled for 5 years to find the right opportunity. Says, I now have 2 job offers. And then this is Jennifer. Jennifer landed an amazing role. This is her dream job. She landed the VP of Strategic Analytics at JP Morgan Chase, the same company that was our demo company for today. All right. She says here that I was able to do an in-depth analysis and the polished finished product impressed the hiring manager so much, he was willing to fast track an offer. She did this using my business science problem framework and completing the project using R Markdown. So I'm going to give you guys a special advantage though. You see, you're getting today my Data Science for Business Part 1, my Part 2 course, my High Performance Time Series, my Shiny Web Apps 1, Shiny Web Apps 2, a total value of $4,385. Now, take a deep breath, guys. That's a lot of money. It's not going to cost you $4,400. And it's not even going to be, we actually just updated prices here for 2023, and it's not going to cost you the $3,000 that people are paying for it on my website right now. As a reward for investing in your education today, you're going to get a special offer. You're going to get my Data Science Career Deal, which is specifically designed for you guys that are investing in your education with me right now. You're going to get it for $19.99. That's over 50% off. That's an amazing deal. And this is amazing because $19.99 does not reflect the 2023 prices. It's actually the 2022 prices. Now, for all of you guys that are fast action takers, I want to reward you guys. These are the people I'm talking specifically to, the ones on this call right now that are serious about becoming a data scientist. I'm also going to give you 5 bonus data sets that are for your portfolio. And that's beyond what you get in the normal package when you buy it on my website. This is a $997 value, and I'm going to give it to you guys if you buy on this webinar. So you have to buy before this timer hits 0. Are you guys ready? Who's fired up? Who's with me? All right, guys. 3, 2, 1. This is the Data Science Career Deal. And we have about 20 minutes. I'm going to do some Q&A. I'm going to put the link in the chat. So let me copy this link address. I'm going to put that in the chat right now. And you guys are open. The checkout is open. I'm going to walk you through what that process looks like. So this is an amazing, amazing deal, guys. The checkout process is super simple. All you're going to go do, it's the Data Science Career Deal for my 5-course R-Track system, which is going to take you from beginner to all the skills to become a senior data scientist and beyond, and break the chains from the IT department. So the deal is going on for 2 days and 23 hours. It's a total value of $4,397. You get it for $1,999, or we also are splitting it up into 12 payments for $199 each. Okay. So if you want a payment plan, we have now begun offering payment plans. And I do want to mention too, if you buy on the call, you won't see the data sets here. So those data sets are only available for the next 18 minutes or so. And then those are off the table. So for the fast action takers, what you're going to do, you're going to put your name in, you're going to put your email address, phone number for tech support, and you're going to pick which payment plan you would like. So it's either the $19.99, you can pay in one lump sum, or you can do 12 payments of $199. Okay. Either one is going to be eligible for the data sets. That's the good news. If you guys also want access to the Learning Labs Pro, I had mentioned that on this call already. This is an example of Learning Lab 80, and we now have 80 Learning Labs. So that comes with data, full analysis, all the code that you saw in the training today. You're going to want to have this box checked, and that will add it on. It's $49 per month subscription, and that's 30% off of the monthly subscription on our website. So you're getting an amazing value on that too. If you don't want that, simply uncheck it. But I'm telling you guys, you get access to tons and tons of code. In fact, I did the calculation. It's over 20,000 lines of code. Each lab comes with its own data set. So that's roughly 80 data sets. You got tons and tons of stuff in there to keep you learning. Great for your interview portfolios. So what you'll do is you'll complete the order form. You'll enter your information in here. Once you hit the complete button, what's going to happen next is, and I'll go to the university. So it's you're immediately going to get an email showing you, confirming that you've got into all of the courses, and it's going to give you instructions on how to join the Slack channel and how to access the courses. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you what one of the courses looks like. So once you get into it, it'll look something like this. And let me search for, let's do this one. Here, hold on one second. So you're going to get access to all of the courses. This is just one of the 5 courses. You can see the amount of content that comes in it. So you're going to go through and get started. Here's what a typical module might look like. So this is installing. Actually, you can see here, guys, in the content here. Let's do this. We'll get a code one. Get a code lesson for you. You can see here that each one of these is going to be walking you through all of the code line by line. I'm actually coding line by line with you, and you're going to complete. And this is how you learn through repetition. And it's a strategy that I apply. So you get this, and you can see how long this is, but I break it up into roughly 5 minutes. Each lesson's, around 6, 7 minutes, 5 minutes, and it breaks them all up into bite-sized chunks. The reason I do that is because that these lessons, if you have them too long, you don't remember them, and you want to be able to take them in bite-sized chunks. It also helps keep you motivated too. So if you've ever been in a lesson where it's like an hour long, just sitting through hours of recordings is quite a bit. So that's the process. It'll take you right into that portal, and you'll get access to all 5 of the courses. The data sets, if you buy on the call right now, give me about 30 minutes or so, and I will add those after the Q&A session. Okay. All right. We have about 14 minutes until the data sets are off the table. I'm going to put the link into the Q&A or into the chat right now, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions right now. So what questions do you guys have? Okay. What questions? Put them in the chat. Where are the data sets? The data sets I will give you. There's five data sets that will come when you purchase the course. I will add those manually after this training, after the session is over. Okay. Okay. Oh, we got a couple orders coming in. Nice, nice, nice. Just a reminder, guys, we got 14 minutes for the data sets. For your current students, how do you get the data set? For the current students, I don't have that. It's a special perk of this webinar. Right now, I don't have a system for purchasing the data sets right now. It's just a bonus. All right, Ushaka, the Python cheat sheet. We'll hand that out in 13 minutes. Let's see. Sakib asked, please talk about the web application deployment methods. I'll talk about those here towards the end. Do any of you guys have questions about the specific to the career deal and to the offer here that I presented? This is the path. It's going to get you from A to B. So I want to handle those questions first. So any third world discounts? Unfortunately, no, but we do have the 12 payment plan. So if you cannot do the upfront payment plan, the 5-course R-Track 50% off, you still get an amazing value here. It's actually still below the price on the website, 12 payments, and you get it broken out over 12 payments that are monthly. Hey, Michael. Yes, I will answer some technical questions, but I've given you guys a ton of technical and I've given you guys a lot here. I want to help the people who are interested in the specific offer first. So let's see. Shabnam asks, what is the price until Saturday? So this is the pricing until Saturday. So if you go to this web page here, this is going to give you access to the pricing. You can see there's a timer here. And once this timer gets to 0, this offer goes away completely. Okay. And you can see these two options are presented for you. So you've got the R-Track 50% off, or you've got the R-Track 12 payment plan. Okay. So that'll be available until Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern. After 3 p.m. Eastern, it goes away. VJ asks, how long do we have access to the course materials? Great question, VJ. The beauty of this is you get access to lifetime, and that's lifetime access to not only the courses, but also the Slack channel, which is very powerful for networking, for learning more. You get access to all of that for lifetime. It never expires. Okay, Jeff T asks, is it live or recorded course? All of the beauty of this whole system is they are all pre-recorded. So you can see here, this is just one course. These are all pre-recorded that takes you through all of the skills that you need to learn in order to be able to do the first part, which is data science foundations. It's all pre-recorded, so you can access it on your schedule. That's really important because we have students in, I think, 43 or 45 different countries. They're spread all throughout the world in different time zones. So to be able to access the content and start immediately is very important. And that's how you're going to get it done super fast. Okay. So if I go home here, I want to show you guys, if I go back here. So this is what it looks like for all of the courses. So if you get Data Science for Business Part 1, Part 2, Shiny Web Apps 1, 2. If we check out another one of these courses, let's do Shiny Web Apps Part 2, because this is a Shiny demonstration. So let's click that one. This is what Shiny Web Apps Part 2 looks like. You can see how much content I've packed in here. So let's just click on one of these. We talk about adding here. Let's go down here a little farther. I want to show you some cool stuff. Dynamic UI, favorite cards. We can add favorite cards in here. Let's check out this one. Let's do this. Modularizing the functions. All right. So you can see we do the line by line coding. We're creating a generate favorites card function. And let's see what else we got here. Let's see what it looks like. There, let's see the output. There, you can see it's producing all the content. And let's see. I don't think we're going to actually see what the visual looks like in here. Let's see. Try this one. There we go. Here, integrating, maybe adding this. Let's do. All right, let's see if we can get it going. There, we can see some of the Shiny that you guys are doing. So you're building this. You're building out all of this functionality here. So these are the favorite cards you get to see. You got show and hide buttons. You got lots of tons and tons of code. Okay. So you can see you get lifetime access to all of this, and that's how it's kind of broken up. Are all my courses YouTube videos? No, none of these courses are YouTube videos. They're all built on the business science training platform. That's what I showed you here. If you go into business science, the training platform. All right, we got 8 more minutes, guys. What other questions do we have? Any other questions related to the program? Okay, so if we got 8 minutes here, speak now or forever hold your peace. Here we got another student just joined. Looks like Mejwan joined. Thank you. All right, we got 7 minutes and 50 seconds, and then the data sets are off the table. Is there any other questions related to the program? If so, put them into the chat. What do the data sets contain? So these are 5 data sets that you're able to use. There's, I believe, some time series data sets in there. There are all sorts of different data sets that are going to help you when you first off proceed in the courses, because one of the big things that some of my students have requested is to have extra data sets as they go through the courses to practice on. So that's what it's going to give you the ability to do. The other thing is when you go to create your portfolio, these data sets are unique in the sense that not many people have access to them. They're not available on Kaggle. They aren't the same projects that every company is used to seeing. So it's going to help you stand out, especially when you build Shiny apps with them, or if you use them in developing your own projects beyond those. Okay, good question, BJ. All right. Any other questions related to the courses? We got about 6 minutes, and then I'm going to start handling other stuff, including the cheat sheet and the other the other questions that any of you guys may have. Can we purchase part of the courses like Shiny Web Apps Part 1 and Part 2? You can, but you're going to pay for Shiny Web Apps Part 1 and Part 2. Essentially $1,700, a little over $1,700. So you might as well go for it's more, in my opinion, I would go for the deal. All right, let's put the link in the chat one more time. Okay. All right, any other questions? Any other questions related to the course content? All right. All right, I'm going to switch into technical questions then. So David asks, what is your overall impression of Shiny and Python versus R? What is your main selling point on why we should learn this versus already knowing Shiny and R? Well, my opinion is that Shiny and Python is great, but the challenge with Shiny and Python is that the ecosystem is not developed yet. So Shiny and R has been around for 10 years. And the key difference is that you get all of these other people that have been building on top of the Shiny web app. So when you go to build, let's see, projects like here, let me pull up one of mine. Business Science GitHub. So I'll show you one. Like the challenge is you aren't going to be able to do something like this. Let's see, projects, email. No, I want to do HR nutrition app. Yeah, I'll show you this one. I'll show you a demo of what you can't do in Python. So this is an app that I built, I think a year or two ago. And this is one where you're going to see that like, this is something I'd sell it to a company for like $25,000. I mean, this is like a really powerful example. It's going a little bit slow. I had to fire up the server. But this is something that like, it's night and day difference compared to what you can do in Python currently. It's not to say that the shiny Python library won't eventually get there, but when it comes to like actually making like a high-end application like this one, let me see the Department Explorer. Yeah, it's taking a while. It's got to load up. There we go. Where we can analyze attrition, and we can pull in like filters, and we can filter the attrition to see, which departments have more attrition in them. There's the apply button. There we go. Come on. There it goes. Okay, so this is the attrition risk. You can see sales reps have a lot more attrition. Job level 1 has a lot more attrition. These are the people that are at risk of leaving the company. You see 93% for these people. So, this type of application, it's a more high-end application. It's something that's going to be quite a stretch for pulling off in Shiny and Python. For Shiny and R, this is, these libraries are available. People have built them on top. It's got like the much better UI, got dark mode, and so on. So that's something that I would say it's going to take probably Python several years, probably 3 to 5 years before you get like all of these extra people in there. Will it happen eventually? Undoubtedly. It's just going to take a little bit of time. Okay. So next question here. Nabby's saying, I enjoyed the classes. It's very organized and easy to follow. I studied statistics, but these classes transformed my journey to becoming a data scientist. Thank you, Nabby. I really appreciate that testimonial. Yeah, it's all about applying data science, because what you're learning out there, normally what it is it's not, you're learning theory, you're learning, which is very valuable, but what most organizations actually need is to be able to build things that are going to matter and things that are going to get you to that next level. And if you want to do that, the thing that's helped me is to be able to learn from an applied standpoint. And that's what this program, I think, gives you is, and that's what Nabby's saying, is that this is about becoming a data scientist or a business focused data scientist. And these are the people that are going to earn a lot more money over the course of their careers, because they're going to be seen as problem solvers, people who can just get things done. And that is the power. So I'm going to throw this in. We got about 52 seconds before the data sets go away. So copy the link address. We got 50 seconds. If you have any questions on the program, please let me know now or forever hold your peace. And let's see. Oh, we got another one. Shabnam just enrolled. Thank you, Shabnam. Okay. 30 seconds, and then the data sets are off the table. Any other questions that I can answer on the program to help you decide whether or not this program is for you? I would love to help you understand that. Okay. Michael, you can wait 30 seconds, buddy. It's coming. All right. Is there any questions? Any questions? Do I have enterprise pricing? You can up, the timer is done. The data sets are now off the table. I do have enterprise team plans. You can email me. I will put my email in here. And you can email me. All right. Okay. All right. Feel free to email me, Jeff D. And we can talk about enterprise pricing. If you have a team of 3 or more, we can talk about special pricing for the team. Okay. Moving on here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys all the cheat sheet that you guys have been hanging around for. Here's the cheat sheet in the chat. You can download it. And what I'm going to do is I'll walk you through the cheat sheet. It doesn't make sense to just give you the cheat sheet and not explain it. So it's important to understand how this thing works for you. So you can see there's 2 different pages here. Second page has special topics. I'll talk about those in a second. First page is the general workflow. So the general workflow is going to be like what you're doing 90% of the time. This is going to be things like using Panda for import, SQL Alchemy, using your IDE, things like Jupyter, VS Code, PyCharm, RStudio, Spider, and the 25 other IDEs that exist in the Python ecosystem. I use VS Code. You can see that that's what I use today. I know a few of you guys had questions about that in the chat. You also have how to use pandas for tidying and using text and time series. If you click on one of these links, we'll open it up and you can see it goes right to that specific section of the documentation. So that way you don't have to, waste time messing around figuring out which section to go to. I think that's pretty important. I keep this thing, this cheat sheet up on my second. I have two monitors set up. My first monitor is for my code. My second monitor is for my resources. I keep that cheat sheet opened up on my second monitor because, like, if I need to get to the Plotly cheat sheet real quick, I'll just click this, and what it'll do is it'll open it for me. And right here, you got the cheat sheet. So it's a cheat sheet that contains cheat sheets. Pretty nice. Second page here, guys. Second page is all about special topics. Okay. Special topics are important because when you want to work in fields like time series forecasting or exploratory data analysis, or you want to be able to work with the Microsoft Office suite, or be able to use APIs and apps, this is the links that are going to get you around. So machine learning, you've got all of the machine learning, the advanced machine learning stuff, the text analysis, time series, and so on. And you just click on any of these links and it'll take you right to the documentation. So pretty nice. All right, there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. It's been a lot of fun. I hope to see some of you guys in my program. We already had several sign up today. I really appreciate and thank you. You will get the data sets. If there's any other questions that you guys have, either hit me up through email or take advantage of the offer that I showed you guys today. All right, I'll see you guys later. Until a couple of weeks, and we'll have another learning lab. Bye-bye.